Hey guys and AIs, I've decided to do a vlog. You can blame Destroy Mariko for this. I'll explain more about what I'm doing and why I'm doing it over time, but for now, let's get into it because I get asked this all the time. Let's just get into it. So, what is your band worth? Strange question, right? I really want you to think about that just for a moment. But then I'm going to ask you again soon, and might have a different assessment. Okay, so let's start a band. I'm gonna really just work with a four-piece band for now. Just there's three-piece bands, there's five-piece bands, across punk to metal. Let's just start with a four-piece. Just be basic, and I'm gonna explain just basic stuff. So you want to start a band to rehearse, get on stage eventually. Just start local. We're starting low. So the equipment. For a decent guitar setup, just for home, rehearsal space, and stage, you're looking at about $700 for a basic setup. So that would be your guitar, your leads, etc., etc. But for an amp that's worthy of a decent studio space and for stage, you're looking $800 to $1,000, roughly about $2,000 all up. And with bass equipment, you're looking about spending the same. So collectively, bass and guitar, $4,000. For drums, that gets a bit trickier, depending on what kind of drums you like. You're gonna be an Arch Enemy with the 22-piece, the acoustic bands that have really small kits. I'm just gonna say a basic setup with a drum set that is capable of home use, rehearsal space, and stage. Looking about 7-piece kit, $1,500. Cymbals about 700. Then you got your double kicks, sticks, drum thrones, your extras. You're looking about $2,700. And then with the vocals, microphones, I know that on stage and in rehearsal studios, they provide microphones, but you want to use your own, and they're not that expensive. Like Shure SM58s, that is industry standard, and you can get those for around $100. So that with leads, looking at $300, that brings us up to all four band members, $7,000. I know that sounds like a lot, but it is split against four people. Keep that in mind. So with that said, let's talk about rehearsal space. Now, if you've got a soundproof garage or a home studio setup, that's freaking fantastic. Not everyone has that. And if you get a studio space, which is what I'd normally recommend, they've got proper PA systems inside those soundproof studio rooms. So what you're paying for is a real experience, because if you go to a professional recording studio to record an album, or you're getting on stage, they use PA systems and things like that. So when you go from your rehearsal setup to a stage, you're already familiar with the equipment. So that's just my opinion. If I'm wrong, tell me. But let's talk about the finances here. So a rehearsal studio, 3 to 5 hours, is around $150. So if you're doing that on a weekly basis over a year, that's $7,800. Now, consider petrol, transport, etc. Let's say $50 per person per week. That's $200. $10,400 a year. Once again, split between four people, so don't freak out. And what I try to think of here is also try to have some money kept to the side, just for who knows. Always have money for backup, broken strings, accidents, whatnot. If you can get collectively $100 a week just set aside, that's $25 per person, that's $5,000 a year, just for a rainy day. If something happens to someone's equipment, you've got the backup. You don't want to drop your guitar and the pickups have fallen out and you need a repair and you've got a show in 2 days. You don't want that. This is just my thoughts. Now, the reason I'm saying per year with this kind of thing is I recommend 6 months to 12 months rehearsing before getting on stage. Now, if you've got pre-recorded things or pre-written songs, then you've got to save some time. But if the other band members know these songs, how long have they been in bands before? And not just that, you really want to get tight when you're on stage. You do. You don't want to be fumbling around with your equipment. You don't want to look like amateurs. You want to look professional. Because when you look amateur, you get treated like an amateur and you don't get called back for more shows. So with all of this combined, That's $23,300 a year. So that with the equipment, $30,000. I know, $30,000 just to get on stage. But once again, that's split between four. It's not as bad as it seems. So $7,000 for the base equipment, split between four. That's $1,750. And the money I just said, including the savings, that's $110 per week. So it's not really that bad. There's other things to consider here that, presentation. So before you start booking shows and getting your name out there, obviously you have to have a name. I'd recommend, getting a logo, maybe even commission, get someone to pay for it, get someone who's really, really good at it. You explain to them what you want, the design, and they will do great things. I've had, for example, Devery Clothing do amazing designs when I've asked them to, and it's worth it, and they don't charge too much either. And if you rep their merch, they'll normally give you a discount. I always get merch from the bands that I enjoy because I support my local artists. And not just that, I've got these things that I wear around out in public and people can see it and I can see it. And other things too, like you'll want to start, recording. That's where that extra $5,000 comes in that you've been keeping aside. Say you don't need new strings every week, which you wouldn't. You don't need new drumsticks, and a lot of these things are very small costs that each musician should honestly just pay for themselves and just keep that $5,000 a year to the side. $5,000 a year is not what you're going to notice between four people if you're just putting in $25 each per week, and that can really help you. So recording and video clips are definitely worth looking into before getting on stage. So after people have seen your set, they know, okay, that's the name of the band. I've got a badge. I'll remember their name and I'll look them up on YouTube and I'll share them with friends later. That will help you be remembered. But that's for another video. I'm planning on doing another video of equipment versus return. So your assets and how much that will make your gains. But first things first, make a band, rehearse, get on stage, and these prices are very normal. At least I think. If I'm wrong, if there's cheaper options, better solutions, comment down below. Let's discuss this together. If you have better ideas than me, I'd love to hear it. I'm sure everyone else would as well. See, the other thing to consider here is time. So if you're doing the rehearsal space idea, so 3 to 5 hour rehearsal a week, 1 hour travel, and then time spent writing and practicing, these are variables that you can't really measure compared to other people. Maybe you're faster at writing music, maybe you improv, maybe you're a freestyler. But with the basis of the rehearsal times and the travel, you're looking at 500 hours per year. For people, that's 2,000 hours a year. Now, how much is your time worth is another question. Can you put a value on that? So, investment versus return. You're investing your time, your money, your effort. And we can talk about the return later because the return comes after the investment. I'll make another video about that later. So, $30,000 for the first year, 20,000 of hours collectively. So tell me, guys, what is your band worth?